Hi everyone, today we're going to talk about how to determine when you should use a drive time versus a radius analysis of a given site. So you can see we're looking at the Westlake or Lakeway area here in Austin, Texas. And if we just quickly identify that this Atlas self-storage site is something that is interesting to us for a variety of reasons. We'll first look at this and you can see that Tract IQ defaults to a 135 mile radius. But I want to first understand and just talk about the dynamics of how you should think about a drive time versus radius analysis. So you can see this site specifically. It's located just south of this body of water here, and which is the Colorado River. And so just when you're looking at this, you can see there's a real barrier, like a topographical barrier that prevents real estate from being developed all across the waterway. And it cuts within your 3 mile and your 5 mile radius here. So what does that mean for you? You can see it cuts through here in the south as well. Well, when you're looking at this site, you have to take that into account because certainly customers of your storage facility will. So even though you might be within 3 miles of the site, if you're located right over here in this housing area, you're going to have to actually drive, all the way up here, cross the bridge, come all the way back down to this storage facility, which might not be as convenient as this facility right down here, this Lake Austin storage, which is just south of this facility. So when you actually think of the trade area, if you're living right over here on this eastern part of the river, right, it's a totally different landscape. So when thinking about a site like this, the 135 mile radius might not actually be the best way to look at it. Instead, for sites with topographical barriers that are potentially limiting the customer base, I would switch this to a drive time. And you can see the drive time perspective within 5 miles only goes probably within 1 mile of the site because this part of Texas is very hilly and, pretty large. So for this site, I would focus on a 5, 10, and 15 mile radius. And you can see, if you actually do that, this area that I looked at before isn't even within a 15-minute drive of this storage facility. So clearly, it wouldn't be in your interest to count them as a potential customer. So this is a good example of where the 5, 10, and 15-minute drive time makes sense for this site. And you can see if you adjust this, there's a pretty high saturation in this area. But again, you are kind of near a body of water, so there's potentially a lot of recreational activity, things like that. But this is a clear example of when drive time makes sense over radius. And really is dependent on the topographical nature of your site.